Good afternoon and welcome to Friday First. I'm Nikki.
I'm Paul.
And I'm Theo. Here's some of the best of Quays this week. Voters marked X on a ballot paper yesterday in the local and mayoral elections. The results have been coming throughout the evening and Salford City Council is largely unchanged with the Labour majority. We should find out the results of Salford mayoral elections later on this afternoon. With a change in electoral rules, individuals rather than households had to register to vote in the elections, leaving many students unfortunately able to register.
We took to Twitter to see how many students are registered to vote. In our Twitter poll, 60% of students registered to vote before the deadline on the 18th of April. The Electoral Commission previously estimated that up to 7.5 million eligible voters are not registered to have their say due to the changes. Joining us in the studio in our political correspondent, Paul Robinson. So Paul, how many students are actually voting?
Well, not a lot, I'm afraid. As you can see from the poll, a good 40% of students in Salford alone haven't even registered to vote. The 60% that have registered, well, not everybody that registers does vote, so that means I'd say about half of us aren't even having a say in who wants to be running the country.
Do you think that the university or the government can do something about it to encourage students to vote?
Well, that's just the thing, they're doing a lot. I've been getting letters, I've been getting brochures. Hey, even Facebook was telling me that I need to register to vote, that I've got so many days left to register, so many days left until voting day, and it's voting day. Get out there, get your voice heard. It's very hard to ignore at this point.
Do you think there is any difference between Manchester University students, Salford University students, different universities, different mindset of students?
Well, people do have different political views, people do come out in different numbers, but as a consensus, as a whole, we're all pretty much the same. We're not voting. I'd say about half of us are, half of us aren't, and the half of us that aren't, they don't seem to care. It's, I'd say in 2010, about 40%, 44% were the numbers that actually voted in the general election. That means of 18 to 25-year-olds, about half of us aren't even wanting to get our voice heard.
Now, there's this whole idea of people living in areas which are largely conservative. Do you think that's an excuse for people to kind of not get involved and they just feel like it's not going to count?
Well, it's not really an excuse, it's the truth, to be honest. With our first past the post system, a good number of people that do vote then get that vote thrown away because it isn't in the majority. That's probably where all the apathy is coming from, because in our current system, if you disagree with everybody else in your area, your vote doesn't count.
It's a shame, really. Well, hopefully we'll see a change in the near future. So, now, the students of Salford University took part in the debate in the EU referendum. The debate sparked a lot of questions and of controversy over the UK leaving Europe, which made students aware of both the advantages and disadvantages.
International Student Officer Mostafa Rajai explained how leaving the EU would affect students.
Well, about 125,000 European students come here every year, so obviously it will directly impact those students. The students that have got loans that are European students, they would be affected by it. Also, in terms of academics that come from the European Union, it would affect them. It would affect wider society, it would affect the NHS, it would affect businesses that would then employ those students.
I think this is one of the most important votes of our generation, and probably one of the most important votes in our lifetime. I'd say it's even more important than the vote last year, which was the first time I personally got to vote at the general elections.
Do you personally know now what to vote for in June?
Well, I came in leaning more towards staying within the EU, but now I'm a bit more undecided since the Leave Party in the debate did give better answers.
Same-sex marriage was legalised in England in 2014, but 2 years on there is still some opposition from the church. Ryan Gerard reports.
2016. Gay marriage is now legal in 25 different countries, with the Republic of Ireland being the first country in the world to legalise by popular vote. Despite today's acceptance of same-sex unions, there are still minorities who oppose. One of these minorities are members of the Church of England in Northern Ireland. Although many ministers from the Anglican Church chose not to comment on this issue, Reverend Dr. Quays was more than happy to oblige.
So for some people it's simply a case of perhaps being born absolutely gay, or other people being born absolutely straight, and it will stay that way the whole of their lives. But for many others I think it can be a shifting thing, and different expression and different relationships and are appropriate at different times of life maybe. So I think when we hear proclamations in the media or in documents, they can often be quite conservative, and I think people are very cautious about social change, aren't they? And so often passages in scripture and also the tradition of the church are cited as reasons for what is discrimination, what is making choices between one person and another on the basis of sexuality. But I hope that you would find on the ground in Church of England churches throughout the nation that actually there's a far more embracing, accepting attitude.
A prime example of discrimination against gay marriage is the Ashes Bakery scandal. Daniel and Amy MacArthur were fined £500 for refusing to ice a pro-gay marriage message on a cake for a customer. The couple are now appealing against their fine, claiming it's discriminating against their Christian beliefs.
And I think within the grounds of this, we overcomplicate things. If we look at it very simply and we're in business, we should not be discriminating as to who we are providing our services to.
Whilst the LGBT movement have accomplished a significant amount in a short period of time, both politically and socially, society as a whole continues to face issues between faith and the modern world. The Ashes Bakery scandal highlights one of the main divides. This is Ryan Gerard, Quays News.
Police are increasingly concerned about the huge increase in child sexting. Jasmine Rigby has the story.
Fear grows as police reports reveal children are putting themselves at risk of exploitation. The number of sexting incidents are increasing year on year, and it is becoming a huge concern. I spoke to Detective Inspector and he tells us the police are doing everything in their power to stop this.
I think probably the priority for law enforcement agencies, and I think this is pretty much across the board, is one of safeguarding really of children, young persons and vulnerable people really. So safeguarding is key for us above everything else. We've identified that obviously the impact that this type of criminality can have on an individual is pretty impactful at times and can be really detrimental. Bearing in mind that quite often it can be quite personal images, information, things that are going to be leaked out onto such a massive scale has a huge impact on someone's life. So we've done a lot of work around that. We'll work a lot with partnership agencies, especially when it comes to children and vulnerable persons. So we'll work a lot with social services departments, with adult services, with other government organisations such as health and so on.
Fear grows as police reports reveal children are putting themselves at risk of exploitation. 4 children were reported to police in 2014, but it rose by a significant amount in 2015, where 28 sexting offences were reported. Police do believe this is due to advanced technology, and most of it stems from social media. And children and parents both need to be made aware of the dangers of the internet.
I think the big thing, I think the key message for us is online safety. That's huge. We can't stress that enough. And that's both for the children and for the parents. Raise the parents' awareness. Because, I'm a parent myself, and I'm sure my children can do stuff on the internet and know about things on the internet that I'm unaware of. So I think you, as a parent, you've got to stay up to date with developing technologies, and certainly the internet and the safety tips that can be used on there. That's key. There's a lot of links on our website, North Wales Police, around online safety and stuff like that. So, we try and push that message out to people to review that so that they know they're going to the right website pages on the internet and they're not being given the wrong advice.
It is in hope that figures will drop next year as the police are now more aware of the issues. Jasmine Rigby, Quays News.
Avenue Q is just the first of the many big-name stage shows to be housed in Manchester theatres this summer. Satire and puppets, yes, puppets, collide in this somewhat risky look at real-world problems. Our reporter Andrew Watson caught up with theatregoers at the Palace Theatre on opening night.
I've promised him that I'll like it because it's a bit rude, and men like a bit of rudeness, don't they? But I've told him it will be funny as well, and it's not just puppets, it's not like the Muppets, it's a bit raunchy Muppets. So.
I know it was one of the guys who did the Book of Mormon, and I've seen that, and I loved that, so I'm excited to see what he did with this.
A 2-year-old at home, and it's not the kind of show I bring her to see.
Don't bring your children if it's not child friendly.
It's got a few bad words in. Does that bother you?
No, as long as it's a really good show.
Try and come at least every couple of months or so. We're coming to Mamma Mia, which goes on after this.
It's great that Manchester gets all the big shows.
Yeah, it's just a bit of culture really.
We get a lot of big shows, so we enjoy coming to them.
No, Ambassador Theatre Group are doing more and more first nights in Manchester, which is a really good thing, and more regional theatre is definitely a positive way forward.
Salford City FC have been promoted into National League North following their 3-2 victory over Workington. The club, owned by the class of '92, secured their second promotion of 2 consecutive seasons in the Northern Premier League final.
Fans witnessed a dramatic comeback at Moor Lane, with Salford going 1-0 down in the first 5 minutes and Kyle May scoring the first goal. Steve O'Halloran brought back for his home side when he scored a header from a perfectly timed run, but it was snatched away just 7 minutes later by Gareth Anderson, making the game 2-1 to the visitors.
It took Salford most of the second half to retaliate, but another home corner led to another equaliser. This time it was Billy Priestley who rose highest. Salford's endless pressure paid off with just minutes to go, as striker Jordan Holmes showed his natural instinct, prodding in from close range. Salford remained unbeaten throughout April, earning then the Northern Premier League Team of the Month, and ultimately a place in the National League North next season, alongside local rivals Stalybridge Celtic and FC United of Manchester.
I've not slept for about 4 nights just thinking about this moment and for it actually to happen. In my dream it was a 40-yard screamer, but I'll take a tapping on the line.
I mean, it's amazing. To win like that, last minute again, you know, God knows how many times we've done that at the back end of the season. You know, we've come a long way as a football club very, very quickly, but it's the lads on the pitch that are doing it. You know, 2-1 down, could have gone, heads could have gone down. Showed absolutely massive, massive balls.
Now, Manchester City have exited the Champions League last night after a 1-0 loss to Real Madrid, meaning they won't be playing their first final in the competition. Our reporter Callum Teefy went to get the fans' reaction.
So today I've travelled to the Etihad Stadium, home of Manchester City. They didn't quite get the result they wanted in Madrid last night, but I've come here to find out what the fans thought of their result and their best Champions League performance ever.
Semi-disappointed. I thought we could have gone for it more than what we did.
But pretty disappointed we didn't show a little bit more fight and conviction going forward. But I think the Silva injury was absolutely clinical to it. I think if we'd have had him for both games, I think there's a chance we might have made it.
I was hoping to see a final Manchester City with Atletico Madrid in Milan. It would have been a great game.
I then asked the fans what their hopes were for next year in the Champions League when Pep Guardiola takes charge of the club.
Expectations high. The man's got a massive reputation. I'm hoping, obviously you're hoping you do better, but we're realistic. We've still got a way to go, and you know the big two in Spain have still got all the really big names, haven't they? So you know, with the exception of Aguero.
Callum Teefy reporting for Quays News.
Manchester has been named the selfie capital of the UK. Examining the most recent 10,000 photos on Instagram, Manchester featured in 393. Shall we take a selfie to add to the collection?
Why not, hey?
That's all for Friday First this week. Goodbye.
With a sunny start to the beginning of the week and temperatures remaining high at 24 degrees Celsius, however the sun will be hiding with a chance of thunder and lightning. Currently there's cloudy and mild weather, however rain will be a possibility coming into the beginning of next week with a drop in temperature down to 17 degrees Celsius. That's all for now, thank you.